Spanish treasure galleon wrecked off Florida 300 years ago.
The richest Spanish galleon that ever crossed the pond from Spain.
The legendary wealth of the Nuestra Señora de Atocha fed the fantasies of treasure hunters.
There's so much treasure on the Atocha, it's incredible.
Generations of adventurers schemed and dreamed of discovering her riches.
A lot of people thought that Dad was off his rocker. You know, they thought, this guy is living in a dream world.
But Mel Fisher set out to find the wreck.
It's fun, romance, and adventure.
Sunken treasure was his obsession.
It gets in your blood and you just can't stop.
He set his heart on discovering the millions in gold, silver, and emeralds.
Dad told us every day, today's the day you're going to find the treasure.
Look at that baby.
Yeah.
This is the true story of Mel Fisher's extraordinary hunt for the treasure of the lost Spanish galleon. Even as a boy growing up in Indiana during the 1930s, Mel Fisher was obsessed with tales of treasure, especially sunken treasure. Unfortunately, the complex and expensive equipment needed to dive old shipwrecks put treasure hunting out of reach for ordinary people. But young Mel Fisher was no ordinary person.
When Dad was 12, he made his own dive hood. It was a 5-gallon bucket, and he put a plastic piece of glass in it. And then he had a hose going up to the surface, and his friend had a bicycle pump. But air stopped coming, and he almost drowned in that lake.
But for all his dreams of treasure, by the early 1950s, Mel Fisher was scratching out a living as a chicken farmer when technology changed his life. Mel learned of a diving revolution, the invention of the self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, scuba. Wearing a scuba air tank, Mel was able to live out his childhood fantasies. At last, he could dive for treasure. Mel sold the chicken farm, and in 1953, with his wife Dio, opened the first dive shop and dive school in California, at Redondo Beach. He organized treasure hunting expeditions on wrecks made famous by pirate legend and old tales of sunken treasure.
He was like the Pied Piper. Everyone wanted to go with him. Everyone wanted to be a part of it. And he made everything exciting.
Mel found no shortage of clients eager to taste the thrill of treasure hunting. It easily becomes an obsession.
I found my first treasure when I was 9 years old. And it's a very addictive feeling.
There's a definite thrill there, a personal feeling that you get when you see something that nobody else has seen or touched for a few hundred years and bring it to the surface.
You just get tingles all over, and you just want to find more.
Even with a growing family, enthusiastic amateur treasure hunter Mel Fisher took every opportunity to indulge his passion.
He would save up every year and go treasure hunting for vacation. And then his vacation kept getting longer and longer.
Mel's problem was that he lived on the West Coast in California. But the best area for treasure hunting was on the East Coast in Florida and the Caribbean. There are more sunken treasure ships there than anywhere else in the world.
My father told me that he thought there was a shipwreck about every 100 yards from Havana, Cuba to North Carolina. Of course, they're not all filled with gold doubloons, and that's the ones that he was after.
The reason the East Coast is so rich in wrecks is down to the forces of geography and weather. From the 15th century on, the Spanish ruled and plundered the riches of Central and South America. Large fleets of Spanish galleons, each loaded with tons of gold, silver, and jewels, sailed from Cuba for Spain every year for centuries.
It was a tremendous flow of wealth for 300 years, and all of the richest families had people over there sending it home.
Most of the ships made it home most of the time. But the shallow waters inside the reef of the Florida Keys became a death trap in the hurricane season.
These hurricanes would push them into that reef and then over it inside the reef, and that's where they would end up breaking up and sinking.
Over the centuries, valuable treasures have been salvaged from rich ships found on the seabed. Occasionally, the sea would give up a clue to the location of a fortune. In the early 1960s, gold fever struck in Florida. Suddenly, gold doubloons and silver pieces of 8 began appearing on the beaches.
They had been finding coins along the beach as they were beachcombing. And they did a little research and found out about this whole fleet of ships that had sank here off of Vero Beach, Florida.
The owner of the salvage license for the area believed the coins were from the Spanish treasure fleet that sank in 1715. By now, Mel's treasure hunting reputation had grown, and he was offered half the 1715 treasure if he could find it. For Mel, this was a dream come true. This was his chance to be a full-time treasure hunter, to turn professional. But it meant uprooting his wife and 4 children 2,600 miles from California to Florida. It was a huge gamble. He might find nothing and lose everything. But in 1963, Mel decided to bet everything he had to follow his dream. He gave himself 1 year to strike it rich.
They decided they would sell everything and go work for 1 year. And they convinced Fay Fields and 4 other guys all to come work for free for 1 year.
Mel came armed with a secret weapon: technology. Fay Fields, Mel's electronics expert, had miniaturized a World War II submarine detection device, the Fluxgate magnetometer. Its underwater sensor could detect iron and steel on the seabed. By locating an anchor or even a nail, Mel hoped the magnetometer would be a shipwreck finding machine. But Mel's first months in Florida looking for the Spanish 1715 fleet were disappointing. He had a big problem. The magnetometer worked, detecting iron clues, but when the divers went over the side to investigate, the water was so murky they couldn't see their hand in front of their face, let alone hunt for treasure.
Dad had a lot of great characteristics. He was an engineer to begin with, so he could always figure out how to solve a problem.
If Mel couldn't solve this problem, his new life as a professional treasure hunter would be over before it had even started. He set to work, finding a way for his divers to see.
My father had noticed that on the surface level, there was clear water. And he wanted to bring that clearness from the surface down to the bottom.
If he could figure a way to push the clear water down to the bottom, then it would make it easier for the divers to see the treasure.
Mel designed giant steel tubes that attached to the back of the boat to redirect the clear wash from the propellers down towards the seabed.
While the boat was anchored, he would put the boat in gear, and all the prop wash, or the water that was blowing through the propellers, would then be pushed down through the elbow of the tube to the bottom, bringing the clear water down.
Because of their shape, Mel called them mailboxes. No treasure hunter had ever tried anything like this.
It was a great device. It worked perfectly. It made it crystal clear.
Mel had solved the visibility problem. The divers could now see to investigate the magnetometer readings, clues to where the treasure ships had sunk. Quite by accident, Mel's mailbox also fixed another problem he didn't even know he had.
Turned out to have a really nice side effect of digging a big hole real fast.
The prop winch, forced through Mel's giant mailboxes, had scoured a wide hole 6 feet deep into the sand of the seabed.
What used to take about a month to do, we ended up doing in one day.
Mel had revolutionized treasure hunting. He was sure the source of all those bleached silver and gold coins would soon be revealed by the mighty mailboxes. Day after day, he put them to work. But his initial success began to look more like beginner's luck. Weeks turned into months, with no sign of treasure. Mel could give himself just 1 year to make it as a professional treasure hunter. After 11 months' hard work, he had nothing but a huge hole in his bank balance. Time and money was running out. But Mel Fisher never lost hope. Just days from complete failure, his perseverance was rewarded.
He worked for 360 days without finding much. And on that day, the 360th day, they dug a hole and it was full of gold doubloons.
He said he'll never forget it. It was like the bottom was paved with gold coins.
Mel's mailboxes had uncovered a fortune. 1,033 gold coins, the greatest salvage haul ever recorded at that time.
So they never went back to California. They all moved to Florida permanently. They worked here on the 1715 fleet for the next 7 years, very successfully, found several of the wrecks, many hundreds, thousands of beautiful artifacts.
Mel Fisher was living his dream. He was a top professional treasure hunter. But he set his sights even higher.
He said, let's go after the biggest shipwreck on this side of the pond.
Mel Fisher now had enough money and expertise to launch a quest that would consume the rest of his life. The hunt for the ultimate sunken treasure ship. She was fabulously rich. $500 million in gold, silver, and emeralds had sunk off the Florida Keys, but no one knew where. And Mel was determined that he would find the Spanish galleon Nuestra Señora de Atocha. Mel's biggest problem was where to start looking. The Atocha was one of 8 ships in the 1622 treasure fleet that sank off the Florida Keys. But the Keys are a chain of thousands of small islands that stretch over 220 miles of ocean. Mel faced an impossible task. Except the Spanish had left one 300-year-old clue. In Seville, Spain, is the Archivo de Indias. Preserved here are the original records of Spain's South American trade in the 16th and 17th centuries.
The Spanish were very obsessed with writing down every possible thing that they could.
Mel had a copy of a 1620s document. It stated that the Atocha sank at the last key of the Matacumbis. For Mel, this was a great leap forward.
There were 3 islands in the upper Keys, upper, middle, and lower Matacumbi, so that's where he started the search in 1968.
Mel zeroed in on the Matacumbis using his proven magnetometer and mailbox techniques. His team of divers scoured the area.
They would have the maps out on the dining room table. All of the divers would be sitting around pointing at the maps and saying, well, what if the ships came in this direction? What if the storm was coming from that direction? There were thousands of theories.
For 3 years, they tried everything, but found nothing. No sign of the Atocha or her sister ships of the fleet lost in 1622. Not a coin, not even a nail. Treasure hunting is an expensive business, and Mel's money from the hoard of coins was all but spent chasing his dream of the Atocha. Even born optimist Mel Fisher struggled to believe the sunken treasure ship was there. Perhaps he had been crazy to try. Then, a chance meeting led to a breakthrough. When Mel met Florida historian Eugene Lyon in church one Sunday, he couldn't believe his luck. Eugene was going to Seville to study documents in the Archivo de Indias for his doctoral thesis.
He said, aha, please, for my sake, keep your eye on the Atocha, because that's the ship I've been after for a long while. I said, I will.
Ever the optimist, Mel hoped that somewhere in the 50 million time-stained pages of Spanish bureaucracy, Eugene would discover a clue to help find the Atocha. And amazingly, there was.
In there I found a small bundle wrapped with pink ribbon, which referred to the salvage of the Santa Margarita.
The galleon Santa Margarita was lost with the Atocha in the treasure fleet of 1622. But as she sank in shallow water, most of the people aboard survived. Eugene had discovered an eyewitness account that told how they'd watched the Atocha founder and sink in plain sight. Crucially for Mel, the fragile document gave a location.
I went right through it and found on the last worm-eaten page the statement that these ships were lost, that is, not only Atocha, but Santa Margarita in the Cayos del Marqués.
The Cayos del Marqués, or Marquesas Keys, lie over 100 miles southwest of the Matacumbis. No wonder Mel couldn't find the Atocha. He'd been looking in the wrong place. But now, surely, this eyewitness account put the Atocha within his grasp.
He believed he was certain to find it. He was determined and sure of his ability to find it.
With new hope, Mel set to work with his magnetometers looking for telltale iron clues to find the galleon. There was lots of iron, but his divers brought him only bad news.
The Navy has a target field out there, and we found over 5,000 bombs while we were looking for the Atocha. And that really slows you down, but you have to check every one of those targets.
Invariably turns out to be an old bomb casing, you know, or it could be a refrigerator, or it could be many hundreds or thousands of things that people have thrown overboard their ship. We found an old Volkswagen out there. We even found a train.
Month after month, Mel found metal junk, but no sign of the Atocha.
Every morning my father would say, today's the day. Just kept searching and searching. And Most people probably would have given up, but my father didn't. He was determined.
Mel had now spent over $200,000 searching and was desperately struggling to keep going.
It was really, really hard. There were a lot of times when there was no money.
We would have fuel, but no money for food at all. Fuel was more important. Every one of us were expert spear fishermen at the time. And you had to like fish. You really had to like fish.
Without money to keep the boats fueled, Mel's quest for the Atocha's treasure was finished. To raise cash, he decided to sell shares in the treasure when he found it. But he could show not even one object from the Atocha. Investors steered clear.
It's always hard to get people to invest in something that almost seems like a dream. First of all, if it can be done, why hasn't it already been done? And if it hasn't already been done, is it real or is it just a story? So many people I just don't think believed it was true.
There was lots of people who didn't believe in us, who used to say, you know, we're just spending other people's money, getting a suntan, out here diving, having a great time.
During the summer of 1971, Mel Fisher towed his magnetometer over 175,000 miles of seabed. To get investment, he needed proof, hard evidence that the Atocha treasure was more than just a fantasy. Then suddenly, one diver found it.
The diver came up and he's yelling and screaming. He says, there's a huge encrusted anchor down there.
The diver's excitement told Mel this could be just the break he needed. But was the anchor from the Atocha?
It had the big flukes on it that came like that and then down, and the shaft on it was 17 feet, and it had a big ring around it.
So these giant rings like that to tie the ropes on.
The ring was so big, even with all of the incrustation, a diver could swim right through it. I mean, that's how big this thing was.
The divers saw by its design it was a Spanish galleon anchor. But only Mel was convinced he'd found the Atocha.
Do you know how many anchors like that are out in that area? Hundreds, if not thousands, right? But this one, Mel knew it was the Atocha.
Dad was sure this was the Atocha. You know, everybody else was like, well, you got an anchor, but you know, you don't know that's the Atocha. And he was sure, he was convinced.
Mel is, by the way, the world's greatest, biggest optimist.
But Mel's personal assurances would not pull in the investment he needed. He dived to look for supporting evidence. By the anchor lay small black blobs, encrusted silver coins.
When Mel brought up a coin and passed it to his wife, she sort of smeared her finger across it and said, "This is Spanish."
Stamped King Philip IV. It was about the right age, but the exact year was key. The Atocha sank in 1622, so a later dated coin would destroy Mel's claim to have found his treasure ship.
Mel said if we found any dated past 1622 to throw them overboard.
The coins were dated from 1616 to 1621.
This discovery kept Mel's dream alive. The anchor might indeed be from the Atocha. Next morning, Mel had the prop wash mailboxes blowing sand from around the anchor when a diver saw something glinting.
And as he hand fanned the sand, up popped a gold chain. And he held it up and he showed everybody on the boat. I mean, everybody was going crazy.
Mel was saved. He couldn't prove he'd found the Atocha, but the gold chain was undeniably treasure. He enjoyed using it, along with his infectious personality, to spread gold fever.
When he was trying to give somebody gold fever, he would take that chain off and just slowly dribble it into their hand and tell them how gold never tarnishes, it doesn't rust, it doesn't turn yellow, it just shines forever, as he slowly lowered the chain in their hand.
My father loved to see the look on people's face when he would take that 6-foot-long gold chain and dribble it into their hand. Now, he wouldn't let them put their arm on a table or on an armchair. He would make them hold their arm out into the air so you could see their hand going down because it was very heavy. And then at the last 6 or 8 inches, he would drop it. Everybody that put it on or held it in their hand smiled. And my dad loved to make people smile.
They'd grab that chain and they'd have gold fever. And then they might give us some money to go look for treasure.
With the gold chain and silver coins as evidence, potential investors began at last to believe that Mel Fisher might actually be on the trail of $500 million in gold, silver, and jewels. Mel did raise enough money to keep going, but anyone expecting a quick return would be disappointed.
It was like the Atocha would tease us. There was a little here, and we would think, oh, this is it. You know, we found the anchor, so, you know, the rest must be right around it. We'll just dig all around the anchor, and of course, it'll all be laying there. And it wasn't.
By examining the last moments of the Atocha in the hurricane of 1622, Mel hoped he'd find clues leading him to the riches in her hold. With masts torn down and rudder smashed, the wind and waves would push the galleon towards the reef.
They're totally helpless. You're at the mercy of the sea, and it'll do whatever it wants with you.
The last hope of the 265 people on board was to hold the Atocha's position roped to one of the galleon's huge anchors, hooked into the seabed.
They would throw out an anchor and try to get a bite, get the anchor hooked in and ride it out, and these lines would break on them.
To Mel, the anchor he discovered was like a signpost, literally pointing the way to the shipwreck.
It will tell you the direction of the ship and where it's sunk. Because wherever the flukes dig in, then opposite that would be where she was hanging on from the anchor.
The anchor pointed northwest, so when the rope parted, the galleon was driven by the weather to the southeast and sank.
You know, we figured, okay, we got the anchor, you know, now we're going to find the wreck. It's got to be close by. We just see which way the anchor's pointing and go there.
Full of hope, Mel's team worked methodically to the southeast. They found some silver pieces, and Mel's eldest son, Dirk, even uncovered a very rare navigator's astrolabe, amazingly still in working order. Week in, week out, Mel's mailboxes excavated hole after hole in the soft, shifting sand. But the fabled pile of treasure did not appear, just tantalizing clues.
These are all empty holes, and all of a sudden we came across all this purple represents silver coins. There's quite a few coins were found right there, and this orange represents lead musket balls. More empty holes than anything.
Ever the optimist, Mel would always put a positive spin on things.
So we dug another empty hole, but he said, well, that's not an empty hole. That's another place you know where the treasure's not.
You're making a huge ocean just that little bit smaller.
So you're getting one step closer to the treasure.
For 3 years, Mel's mailboxes made sandy holes on the sea floor, finding pottery oil jars, muskets, swords, daggers, and only a few coins. But Mel never lost heart.
You know, you dig so many empty holes, but then every once in a while there's one full of treasure. And that's when it all pays off.
In one day, the 25th of May 1973, just 200 yards from the anchor, Mel's team recovered 1,460 Spanish silver coins. So many, they named the site the Bank of Spain. Crucially, no coin was dated later than 1621. Might this actually be the treasure from the Atocha? Mel was about to find out. In July 1973, historian Eugene Lyon got a call from Mel's office. The latest find was something new, and they needed his expertise.
We found 3 of these silver bars that are about the size of a loaf of bread, and they're about 80 pounds each.
The 3 ingots' value as bullion is about $100,000, but their value to Mel was far greater. Each ingot was stamped with a Roman numeral, its unique serial number. If they matched the galleon's records, they'd prove once and for all whether Mel had really found the Atocha.
I went over to see the 3 silver bars. So I leaned down and I took down the numbers of the bars. I said, "This looks good, Mel," and he said, "It is good."
From the Archivo de Indias in Seville, Eugene had the microfilm rolls of the Atocha's original ship's manifest. Her official cargo was listed, including 40 tons of silver, 901 ingots, each with its serial number. He scanned line after line, page after page of missing treasure, looking for a match.
Then I put on the reel for the Atocha. I got to the numbers of the bars, and there they were. It's the Atocha.
Mel had triumphed, convinced the skeptics, and silenced his detractors.
From that point on, we knew that, we had the Atocha, without a doubt.
The ship's manifest also revealed that 3 silver bars was just a tiny fraction of the Atocha's motherlode of treasure. There were 898 more bars and golden jewels out there somewhere. What Mel didn't realize was that the galleon's treasure lay scattered and buried over miles of seabed. The line southeast from the anchor to the Bank of Spain was clear. Mel was sure a trail of artifacts would soon lead him to the Atocha's motherlode. He pictured a long wall of 900 silver bars, topped by the ship's fallen bronze cannons.
He knew that if we found the cannons, we'd probably find the rest of the ship, because all the previous wrecks we worked, the cannons were all right on top of the main pile.
Mel knew from the Atocha's original documents that on deck above the silver bars, she carried 22 of the prized bronze cannons.
The bronze cannons could shoot farther with more accuracy than most of the other guns of the day. So they were very expensive, and they weren't on all ships. They were only on the most valuable ships.
But in all his years of treasure hunting, Mel had never found one.
I remember him telling me he chased down probably 1,000 bronze cannon stories. And he was really truly beginning to wonder if bronze cannons had ever been made, because every one of them turned out to be iron.
To the diver who could find him an Atocha bronze cannon, Mel offered a $10,000 reward. Year after year, Mel continued mailbox excavations along the southeast trail of Atocha debris. Mile after mile of largely empty holes, he found no sign of a cannon or the hoped-for motherlode.
It is, you know, the cliche looking for a needle in a haystack, but I think it's even harder than that because the haystack is 10 miles long. It's not just a stack of hay, it's a 10-mile-long pile of hay.
By July 1975, Mel's son Dirk, now captain of the dive boat Northwind, had had enough of creeping along the seabed and decided to strike out on a hunch.
Dirk had an idea that if you lined up the anchor with the Bank of Spain and just followed that line out to sea, that you should be able to find the Atocha main pile. And he decided, well, I'm gonna just skip this whole space and jump way out there.
Diver and underwater cameraman Pat Klein was aboard the Northwind with Dirk.
So he sticks on his mask and fins, and he dives down, and all of a sudden we hear this scream. And the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is, there's sharks out there, they got them. But when you look closer, you see him doing this, oh, over here, over here. He had the biggest smile on his face you'd ever seen. And now we're able to hear him yelling, cannons, cannons. We've got cannons down here. Sure enough, when we got down there were these 5 beautiful bronze cannons sitting right on top of each other.
Dad was on cloud 9. Finally got his bronze cannons.
Mel believed he was just a step away from the richest salvage haul ever recorded.
Oh yeah, we thought for sure that was it. We'd hit the big pile, and the next day we were gonna find the rest.
But just as Mel and his team were celebrating Dirk's triumph, disaster struck. The Fishers had a shipwreck of their own. The Northwind sank in the night. Dirk, his wife Angel, and diver Rick Gage all drowned. Mel had paid dearly for his dreams of treasure.
If there was ever a time in the entire search for the Atocha where my father might have thought, ever even considered about giving up, it would have been right after the tragedy with Dirk and Angel's death.
In their grief, Mel and his family stopped the search for the sunken treasure and thought long and hard about whether to continue at all.
You know, Dirk gave us a great clue by finding those bronze cannons, and it pointed us in the right direction of where to go look for the main pile.
It was his life's work, so yes, of course we would go on.
2 months passed before Mel was ready to restart the hunt for the riches of the Atocha as a memorial.
It actually increased our determination. We're going to find it for Dirk.
Mel raised the Atocha's bronze cannons, expecting to find the mother lode of 900 silver bars underneath, or maybe close by, but there was no sign. Mel's treasure trail was well established, southeast from the anchor to the Bank of Spain and onto the cannons. Surely Mel just had to keep following the trail.
Every time we get logical, like, okay, we got this, now this lines up, we found the anchors, we found the Bank of Spain, we found the cannons. Oh, there's nothing. It should be there, but it's not.
Years passed as Mel kept looking for the mother lode, and all the time the Atocha was teasing him with beautiful artifacts.
We found 27 pieces of this beautiful gold belt with jewels in it, 300 feet apart, over a period of a week. It was kind of like a little trail saying, here I am, come and get me.
The Atocha teased Mel for 8 more years as each new trail petered out. Then, a ray of hope. In 1983, Mel's son Kane and diver Andy Matrosi had found a long trail of artifacts thrown from the Atocha as she was torn apart by the hurricane.
One day we found an iron square spike from the Atocha. So I plotted that on the chart and drew a line back to the cannons. And that started what we called our line.
This new trail was off to one side of the established line.
We found a barrel hoop with a couple coins encrusted to it, some big ballast stones, and then all of a sudden copper ingots.
Andy and fellow diver Greg worked along the new trail for 2.5 years. Could the mother lode really be at the end of it?
And we found hundreds of silver coins, silver plates, more copper ingots, silver spoons, a wonderful variety of treasure. Now we're flying high now.
The next day, July the 20th, 1985, Andy Matrosi made a dive he would remember for the rest of his life.
All I saw was ripply sand, nothing of any interest. I had turned around and I felt a thumping on my shoulder. And it wasn't just a, hey, he was hitting me hard. And I turned around and looked at Greg and I saw his face. And his eyes were popping out of his head. And I thought, I know what you just saw. Show me what you just saw. And it was a wall that stood like 3 foot tall. It went for 75 feet and was about 20 feet wide, was the mother lode of the Atocha. And that what I was looking at was silver bars.
This time, it wasn't just 2 or 3 silver bars, but hundreds, just as Mel had imagined.
And I went over, touched one, and I picked up the first bar of silver and held it to about my knees and felt how heavy it was. And that was like pinching yourself in a dream, picking that bar up. And you just wanted to swim up to the surface and shout it out to the world, what we had just found.
This was the moment Mel Fisher had been dreaming of for over 16 years. But how could he know today was finally the day?
When they radioed in that they had found the treasure, Dad wasn't around.
They couldn't find him. They had been trying to call him. Where is Mel? We found, we've got it. We've got to tell Mel.
We couldn't reach him, so we went out looking for him.
In blissful ignorance of the momentous news, he had gone shopping and stopped off for a quiet drink. At the office, the whole team was ready to celebrate. They had found the treasure, but they couldn't find Mel.
We just finally called the radio station and said, Mel, they found the mother lode, and he's got to come to work right now. He was carrying his dive gear with under the umbrella and walking through the rain up to the front of the museum, which is now bubbling, bursting at the seams of people and photographers, and the local reporters were all already there. It was pretty much chaos from that moment on.
He had a smile on his face for about a week. It didn't go away.
Here we are in July 20th, exactly 10 years to the death of my brother. And Kane called on the radio and said, Dad, put the charts away, I've got it. I've got the mother lode.
And it was actually 10 years to the day of the accident that we found the main pile. So I think he was up there helping us.
I got to be the individual to tell Mel what his dream looked like.
Well, Mel, got a pile of silver bars, and it's like a reef. There's bars scattered all in the reef.
And I said, it's more beautiful than you ever told us it would look like, Mel.
We were kind of awestruck at first, 'cause I've been doing it most of my life, looking for this one wreck. And all of a sudden, there it was. The initial reaction was, what are we going to do now, you know?
And it was still kind of surreal, hard to believe. Because after hearing Today's the Day every day for 17 years, it kind of is like a boy crying wolf.
Mel told a reporter, "Today it looks like we came to the end of the rainbow and saw the pot of gold."
Everybody wanted to shake your hand. Everybody wanted to give you a hug. Everybody wanted a free piece of treasure. You got any gold coins you're giving away today? There was people claiming to be related to me that I had never met in my entire life.
The legendary wealth of the Atocha was true, and she was as rich as Mel said she would be. Over $500 million.
Dad is one of the few people who have accomplished their dreams in their lifetime.
Mel Fisher was the most successful treasure hunter in the world.
This one is 88 pounds.
Oh, that's a big one.
In just a few months, Mel had over 80,000 pounds of silver and gold, 30 chests full of silver coins, and 350 uncut emeralds piled up in his museum. The problem was, no bank would take so much silver.
In the first year, we had this whole museum, this whole floor with stacks of silver bars. We could only stack them about 5 deep because otherwise it would break through the floor.
We're still looking for the rest of the mother lode that we haven't found yet.
Once again, working on clues left by the Spanish might lead them to unimaginable riches.
Dad was sure there would be emeralds on the Atocha. He had seen a copy of a letter that this fella in the New World wrote his brother back in Spain saying he had put a 70-pound box on board. So far, we found about 6 pounds. So there's another 64 pounds at least out there. Just that one box of emeralds is worth $1 billion. And I'm sure there's more than one box.
To me, it's something I always say is you just got to keep looking, and we'll find it.
It's out there. We're just going to go find it. And I think we're going to find it today. Today's the day.